5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, we're live. And guess what? Today we're going to be talking about and answering questions about the latest COVID mandates. Are tourists mandated to get the vaccine? Well, we're going to be answering that question a whole lot more. And how is it that we can answer those questions? Because if I don't know the answers, I'll just make one up. No, I'm teasing. We're going to do our best to give you the information, hey, based on our experience and based on the knowledge that we have been here since November 2013. So anyway, we're going to have a great time. But guess what? If this is your first time here and you're like, who is this Looney Tune? Well, I'm Alan, and this is my beautiful co-host, Rebecca. And today we're just going to have another great time on our Living in Costa Rica YouTube channel. So, hey, before we get started, let me tell you about today's sponsor. Do you know who today's sponsor is? No? Well, today's sponsor is our subscribers. That's right. You are our sponsors today, and we just want to say thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate all of you coming on to the show, putting in your comments, just having a good time. And number one, always being respectful. Because, this whole COVID situation is a hot topic. And remember, we're not going to be talking about the pros and the cons, the good or the bad, you're for it, not for it. We're going to be talking about how does this COVID situation affect you. If you decide to come to Costa Rica, you're already in Costa Rica, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Hey, sure, we have our own opinions and thoughts, but it doesn't matter what I think. What matters is giving you the facts, helping you to get informed so you can make a decision on what you're going to do. Hey, we love you guys. So many people have said, what are you guys going to do? What's going to happen? Hey, we're going to discuss some of that stuff. But most importantly, we greatly appreciate you. You support us by liking, by subscribing. You support us by hitting that dollar icon in the chat box and donating. You support us by donating, by becoming a premium member in the forum. I can't say thank you enough because every dollar, every penny counts. And it does encourage us to continue to do the research that we do to give you the most updated information we can.
Yeah, because it does take time.
It does take time. And it does offset our finances. It does offset us the cost on everything that we do. So, hey, I guess we should get started. You got anything before we get started?
No, I was just wondering if they can hear us okay. I guess somebody would have said something.
Well, that's always very good. So,
yeah.
Hey, let us know.
We've never done that before.
No.
only maybe 5 out of 15 times.
That's right. So let us know. Hey, how do we sound? How do we look? I mean, does my hair look good? I work hard on that. Let me. All right. So, hey, got lots of comments and questions, but let us know. It says, hey, Brian says we are sounding good. Okay. Can hear you greatly. Dirk's Wild World. All right. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So it looks like we're doing good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that is happening here, but most importantly, let me grab my notes. There's a lot of things that we obviously don't know, but real quick, let me just hit the highlights. Okay. So if I go to my notes real quick, let me pull that up. Bear with me a second here as get my high-tech stuff to get to working. Okay. So, most importantly, most of you already know this, some of you here, but in case you're coming and you don't know about it, Costa Rica has begun mandating the COVID-19 vaccines. President Carlos Alvarado has said that as of December 1st, there's going to be no excuses. Now, keep in mind, we got a long time before December 1st, and things could change, okay? So keep in mind that beginning December 1st, well, everybody is going to have to show a QR code. Most people is going to have it on their phone, and they're going to have to prove that they've been vaccinated in order to go into what's called non-essential businesses. Now, there are some essential businesses that give out essential services that if you haven't been vaccinated, you can go into. for example, supermarkets. You can go buy food. You got to have food. The pharmacy, you can go get your drugs. But they haven't given an all-inclusive list.
In fact, that's the only two things that they've listed. And a lot of people are asking about other things that, the average person finds essential, like maybe banking.
That's right.
Especially if you're a foreigner, you kind of need to be able to go into the bank.
Yeah, so I think banking is essential, but it doesn't matter what I think.
No, what are they going to decide?
And a lot of stuff. I mean, look, by December 1st, who knows? We've heard that there's protests. And so maybe there will be so much protest in Costa Rica that the government changes their mind. I mean, there's been lots of protests in other countries in the United States. Maybe they'll do the same thing. Maybe they won't. But what's important is how you let these things affect you. Okay. For us, I'm kind of like water on a duck's back, man. While I have to consider these things and I have to prepare for what may or may not happen, the most important thing is I can't cross that bridge until I get there. So, when, people are asking, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I can't do anything till December 1st, but obviously there's things I can do to prepare in the event. I don't want to be foolish, right?
Mainly right now, we need to at least give it a few days, a week or so, to see how this pans out.
That's right. So anyway, I got kind of sidetracked here. What they have done is that they've said, they essential services, they've only listed 2 as of right now, but all that's going to change. Supermarkets, pharmacies. And well, what about non-essential? Well, they listed a few, but it's not all inclusive. They said restaurants. Wait a minute, you can't go out and enjoy a good meal unless you've been vaccinated. You can't go to the bars, the casinos, commercial centers, museums, gyms, hotels, adventure tourism, theaters. You can't even go to church or sporting events. Okay. Now, obviously, it's not all inclusive. What about the parks? Well, obviously, what it sounds like to me is anywhere where there's public people, you can't go. The only place you can go, and hey, look, supermarkets have public people, but they're saying essential. So, yep, you can go and buy stuff. Now, you know what? I've heard stories of this same exact thing happening in France. And so people were shopping and they were getting ready to buy something, but the guy's like, nope, this thing's not essential, so you can't have it. I can't have a bag of Doritos, but you can have a bag of rice. Who makes that decision? I don't know. But what's important is that, you be prepared,
And be clear, they haven't said that in Costa Rica.
Yeah, they haven't said that in Costa Rica.
They haven't given a lot of clarity at all yet. And people are asking questions. And as far as we know, all the news sites that we've checked and the resources that we have, that we've talked to, of course, today's Sunday, so maybe tomorrow there will be something. But as far as we know, they've not received any answers to those questions, other than a big answer that's not fully clarified as to who this is going to affect. We're all wanting to know how it's going to affect tourists and, perpetual tourists. We're in the process.
Residents.
Yeah, because we're in the process of getting our residency, so we're wondering about that. But of course, people are planning vacations, planning to move here and be perpetual tourists until they get their residency, or just, there's lots of people that have been perpetual tourists for years and, aren't concerned about getting the residency. But so we're all wondering, how is this going to affect us? And so far, the only clarification that we've gotten is from Outliers, which is they're not even a news agency. They're a
law firm.
A law firm that helps people with residency and other things, but primarily residency. They have a news section on their website. And so because these different rules or mandates, the laws like the digital nomad law and all of that, because these things affect their clients so much, they attend what they call conferences, news conferences. So they almost act like a news agency, is what I'm saying, even though they're a law firm.
Now, pause a moment there. But why is that? Because people want to know, well, why do they attend? Well,
that's
Outliers.
what I just said, because they help people with
Yeah.
their
Oh,
residency.
I'm sorry. I was reading comments. Yeah, I was reading comments and didn't get that. So, yeah, they help a lot of people to get their residency. They are one of the people that we recommend going to because they are extremely helpful, very knowledgeable. They are a huge firm, okay? But
lots of recommendations. Lots of people have used
them. Lots of people have used them. So anyway, before we get any further, let me remind you, because I'm seeing lots of comments, and we will answer every single question today. Obviously, as always, we first going to focus on the topic at hand, and then after we focus on the topic at hand and answer all the questions that we possibly can, then we can answer questions about anything Costa Rica, homestead, off-grid, what are we going to do, and much more. Remember to please keep your comments very respectful. We know everybody's got their own theories and thoughts and all of that,
and we have our own, but we're not going to share those things because
we stay neutral. And we're respectful. We believe in freedom of choice, and if you want to be vaccinated about this news, man, we are happy for you. If you don't want to be vaccinated and this news saddens you, guess what? We're sad with you. And, we're happy that you chose it not to, but we want to remain neutral, and we are always very respectful. And with that said, I'm going to give a big shout out. Thank you so much. Doug has supported us a lot. And thank you so much, Doug. He supported us by hitting that $sign in the chat box. And you can donate any amount you want to, but it does encourage us, does help us greatly. So I just want to shout out and say thank you. We don't get a chance to say thank you every single time because I don't want to get sidetracked, but I do want to mention we greatly appreciate you. Okay. So back to what you were saying with Outliers, they do have a news section, kind of like the blog, and they update their information. Of course, we try to update you. So there have been some people that are upset. Well, I'm unsubscribing. I don't need this information anymore. Well, what we have found out, and we've seen it in the 8 years that we've been here since November 2013, the government will often make a decision almost in haste, and then after a few months realize it was a bad decision, will revert back to what it was. So, hey, we could sit here. November 1st is a long ways from now. We could sit here and, hey, next week, tomorrow, it could all change. So
they did that with the driving restrictions.
Well,
they for a while, they did it by license plate. If you had odd numbered ending license plate, then you drove on certain days. If you had even number, you drove on certain days. And so it ended up for months. It was if you had an odd number, you were allowed to drive on Saturday. I forget which way it was, but anyway, odd on Saturday, even on Sunday. Well, people started to complain because it was always the same people who could go do stuff on Sunday, like maybe go to church. The same people were allowed to drive on Saturday, so they always got to go do the Saturday event. So they brought that issue up, and so then they started alternating it. I guess they didn't think about that. But if you had the wrong ending license plate number, you could never go anywhere on Sunday, and vice versa for Saturday. So that's what we mean by when they made these things, just like with the mask. They started out saying about mask, and then as issues rose up with people wearing different kinds of masks, then they got more specific. No, you can't wear this kind. You have to wear this kind. So
yeah, anyway, it's
always evolving. So.
It's constantly changing. So the best advice that I can give you is, to make sure that you subscribe. Hit the notification bell. As soon as we get the updates, you get the updates. What's even better is if you go to in the description of every video, there is a way that you can join our newsletter. Hey, you can click on that, join our newsletter. And look, let me put you at ease right now. A lot of people in a lot of the videos, you can download the free PDFs, but you have to, you join the newsletter by doing that, and they immediately unsubscribe. Well, I totally understand, man. Internet marketers, you get on a newsletter and they send you all kind of spam and trash and garbage. Well, when you subscribe to our newsletter, we don't send you anything except information you need that's learning about living in Costa Rica. So we don't send out any other garbage out there, okay? So, and we don't sell your name to other lists. You know, your address is confidential. You're safe. So you can subscribe to our newsletter. And the only time I send stuff out is, you know, not every single time we have a video, but if there's a hot topic or something important, I'll send out an email letting people know about it. But a lot of times, if there's a minor update that I can't do in video form, I just send out an email and say, oh, look, just found out this is how it's going to affect tourism, which brings us right to that topic. So, you know, when this first announcement came out, I really believe Costa Rica was only talking about the Costa Rican nationals. And then, of course, a lot of people, well, what about tourists? What about this? What about that? And so they started contacting their attorneys. Now, what you have to understand that in Costa Rica, you can call one person and you and get an answer, call 10 different people, get 10 different answers. You know, things change constantly and rumors spread rapidly. You know, I've already heard rumors. Oh, you can't go into the bank. I haven't seen that anywhere officially. Okay.
They haven't said, well, and then there's even misinformation because we ran into some people and they were like, you can't go into the grocery store. And we said, no, the announcement specifically said that grocery stores were going to be essential, but they had already, you know, they were in a panic, thinking that they weren't going to be able to go, you know, to get groceries.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, from all the research that I've done, and it confirms with what Outliers is saying, you know, and of course, I was pretty hard on Outliers in our last video because they said, well, they talked to someone, but they didn't state who they talked to. Did you talk to a stinking receptionist who doesn't know what they're talking about? Because that's often the case. You know, on a cultural side note, you know, customer service and Costa Ricans, you know, they try so hard to help people, but it doesn't mean, you know, I can ask someone, hey, which way is McDonald's? Oh, it's that away. When in reality, it's this away, but they don't know and they don't want to disappoint you. They want to be so helpful, they will give you bad information. So it's important that you know that on a cultural side note. So, you know, Outliers came back and confirmed, hey, we're talking with the Ministry of Health and we've given them a list of questions. They've come back and they're stating that, yes, this is going to affect all tourists. Now, guess what? Before you get upset, tourists can still come to Costa Rica. You don't have to be vaccinated to come to Costa Rica. You don't have to have a what?
You just can't do anything.
Wait, you busted my bubble.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, tourists, you can come. Okay,
it's not funny.
It's not funny. But you know, tourists, you can come. You don't have to be vaccinated. You don't have to have a negative test. You can just fill out the health pass. You have to have your traveler's insurance. You can come, but you can't do nothing except go to the grocery store and go to the pharmacy.
At least that's what they're, you know.
Yeah. That's what they're saying right now.
They're bound to have some clarity. There's going to have to be some clarification.
You know,
can you go to the beach? Can you?
Right. You know,
what can you do?
What can you do? You know, I mean, common sense says, okay, Costa Rica, and that's what I've been telling you guys. Why would Costa Rica be doing all of this stuff to promote tourism, and then all of a sudden kill it? Well, it looks like, this is just my opinion, okay? To me, I think this is going to kill tourism. But there's a whole lot of people who have said, well, there's way more people that's got the vaccination than not. So this is going to be great for tourism. Well, I'm glad you believe that, you know, because, hey, I respect your belief. To me, my opinion, I think it's going to kill tourism because we've seen it on our channel. We have evidence of the hundreds of people who have said, well, I was 5 days away from buying this house or this farm and just canceled everything. So already, just from all of the comments, all of the emails, millions of dollars have been lost to Costa Rica's economy because of this last COVID mandate announcement. So, yeah, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a horrible tourist season, but let's hope that it won't be, okay? I hope the best for Costa Rica, okay? But, you know, that's kind of like looking out there and seeing the rain clouds. Yeah, I hope it doesn't rain, but, you know, the chances are it's probably going to rain. Doesn't mean it will. So I'm just looking at the signs. I think it's going to be bad for the tourism season, but maybe it won't. Maybe the sun will come out. Okay. So I always try to stay positive. Now, here's one thing that's real important. And I guess a lot of the questions, well, Alan and Rebecca, what are you guys going to do? Well, for us, like I said, we're going to cross that bridge when we get there. But here's what's important. We've been here for 8 years. If we choose not to be vaccinated and we can't go anywhere, that really doesn't bother us. Now, while we do enjoy going to a restaurant and enjoying a good meal, well, we came to Costa Rica because we love nature. You know, if it was all about eating, man, I'll stay in the United States. Got way better food, okay, and lots of different flavors. You know, they do have some good food here, but the important thing is, if you're coming to Costa Rica, what is your main goal? Are you coming here to enjoy the tourist activities and do that? Well, maybe it's not a good decision for you to come here if you're coming for tourist activities and you don't want to be vaccinated, okay, because you won't be allowed to do that. But if your goal is to enjoy all of the tourism and all of that, and you want to be vaccinated, well, great, then nothing has changed for you, okay? So you just have to take into account what's happening. What is your main goal for being in Costa Rica? And guess what? For Rebecca and I, this announcement really has changed nothing. Yeah, it's disappointing because, you know, while we do like to go and eat, we're still going to enjoy life. We're, you know, I'm a great cook. Ask Rebecca.
Yes.
You know, so I while I love to cook, I really enjoy doing a lot of other things. And so it looks like date night might be with Chef Alan. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll get a tip. Anyway,
It's just those things that they're saying that you can't go to aren't that important to us. But it's kind of disheartening, you know, to not be able to maybe you know, do some of those things, but we'll be able to get by. Maybe not so easy for other people, and so that's what you have to consider for yourself, you know, and then weigh the health issues, you know, your beliefs with the choices that you know, weigh that out. So each it's an individual thing.
so
It is disheartening though that
okay, so now I'm going to look at some of the questions and comments. So real important here, because there's lots of comments. Remember, please be polite, folks. You know, people, you know, respect everyone's choices. Okay, so we're not talking about the pros and cons, but some of you have questions. I saw a question here earlier. How's that going to affect teachers? Well, here's most importantly, right? There are people that are coming here to be teachers. It's one of the few things that you can do. You know, they're coming here to be teachers, to teach English and things like that. Now, as a teacher, obviously, they've made it clear that, well, when you come here, whether you're a resident, whether you're a tourist, it really doesn't matter. You're going to have to be vaccinated in order to go to all of these non-essential places. Now, you know, they haven't stated, is place of employment going to be essential? I don't know. It makes sense to us that it would be. However, we don't have the actual facts. So, you know, for me, they're saying that everybody is affected by the COVID mandates. Everybody is going to have to show that QR code. And if you don't have that QR code, you can only go to essential businesses that give out essential services. But we don't have a list of that. So I hope that answers your question. Okay.
well, we have a list. It only lists 2.
That's
things.
right. But that's
And people
not an
have
all-inclusive
questions.
list, right?
Because the things that people have questions about are not listed on as essential or non-essential. So there's things that have not been included at all that you know, we're needing clarification on.
Yeah. And please, folks, hey, take a moment to like. We got lots of people watching, and we greatly appreciate the likes because, I mean, look, we got almost 50 people watching, and there's only 20 likes. And, you know, it's important that you hit that like button. And why is that important? Because there's a lot of people just like you who need this information. And when people hit that like button and there's lots of comments, then YouTube says, wow, people like this. And then they will put it out there so that other people just like you who want this information can get the information. So it helps us in a great, great way when you hit that like button, okay? So we greatly appreciate you. Just want to throw that out there real quick, but real fast. If, you know, because there's lots of comments in here and I'll scroll through there, but put your question in. If you've got a question concerning the mandate, not an opinion, not a, you know, a debate, but if you got a question, hey, okay, what do you think this COVID mandate is going to affect me as a teacher, or this or that, you know, and based on our experience, I'm gonna do the best we can to answer that question. So please put that question in there,
At
okay?
this point, it's just you're just giving your opinion, because we've
well,
said,
I can only give my opinion based on what I know, but they might ask a question that I have an answer on, but
right.
you know, I don't know.
But we've said what we do know, what is that news release.
Yeah.
That
Now,
they said it would affect, you know, well, in fact, the news release didn't even say
anything about
all,
employment, or it didn't give us an all-inclusive list.
Yeah.
It didn't say who it was. It didn't say that it was only Costa Rica nationals or only tourists. Okay.
That didn't come until people started questioning, and then Outliers
That's
said
right.
that they contacted the Ministry of Health, and that the Ministry of Health told them that it would affect residents, tourists, you know, perpetual tourists.
Now, Tanya is the person that asked about the teaching. And of course, she says that she really hopes that she could travel to Costa Rica to teach because her ticket is booked for May. And Tanya, I believe you will. They're not saying you can't come. However, it would be very important to find out whoever you're being employed by, you know, okay, now with the new mandate, you know, am I still going to be able to work if I don't want the vaccine? You know, so it just all depends, because unfortunately, we have seen that Costa Rica is forcing the mandates and are telling people in the government, in the health department, that you must be vaccinated. And if you're not vaccinated, then you don't have a job. And it could be the case with teachers. I don't know, but it would be important for you to check and see, okay, you know, at this point, I don't believe teachers have been mandated. But if they have been, we can safely assume that you would be too, okay?
Yeah, but I mean, teachers would fall under the mandate of
public.
Of everybody, though.
Oh, wait, well, teachers would fall underneath the mandate of everybody, but it's not a forced vaccination. It just means that you can only get essential services.
Yeah, but how are you going to teach how are you going to be in the public school?
Unless you're vaccinated, right?
Yeah,
and so, well, yeah, but will they say that place of employment is essential? We don't know that, right? I mean, if place of employment is an essential, like, okay, restaurants, they have to have employees working, and, you know, it's going to be up to the employer as to whether to require vaccinated or not. So if, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but I just can't see that they would say, okay, so if you're not vaccinated, you can't go eat at a restaurant. But if you're not vaccinated and you're the chef, you can still go to cook.
You can still go work. We don't know.
We don't know, though. And I guess that's
but we can give the best that we can possibly, you know. So anyway,
we're all just waiting to hear what they come up with. What I did hear, and of course, this is, again, hearsay. This is not something that I read in the news, just from people who live here in Costa Rica. They said that things were getting better. And then the president went to some big, some meeting at the UN. And he came back from the UN like 6 days before making this announcement. And because before that, opening up, they were removing the barrier tapes from the parks. I mean, people were still wearing their masks, but things were relaxing. They were having a problem with the hospitals being, a lot of people being at the public hospitals, but they had contacted the private hospitals to work out a deal with them for beds. So things were getting better. And then he goes to a meeting at the UN. Now, I'm not saying we don't know this, but for any fact, but he went to a meeting at the UN and comes back and has these vaccine mandates.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
here's a question that comes up based on what Rebecca was just saying, kind of reminds me, um, someone here said, does anyone think the pressure from the IMF brought these mandates about? Hey, you know what? We really don't
Yeah,
know.
we don't know, but we've speculated
A
among
lot of people
ourselves and
speculate a
other
lot of
people.
things. And is it possible? Well, absolutely. When you borrow a lot of money, well, you're now a slave to the bar, and you pretty much have to do what they say do. It's kind of like, China, built this humongous soccer football field, stadium. And so now when China comes over here and they open up any business, they don't have to pay taxes. And that's why a ton of Costa Ricans will now go buy all of their groceries at the Chinese grocery store because, hey, 13% tax is a lot of money saved. And when you don't have a lot of money, you go to the Chinese grocery store and you buy your groceries, okay? And it helps them. Sucks to be Tico or to be a Tico store owner, because now you lose a lot of business to your competitor, China, because China built a stadium,
Right.
So
Which kind of goes against like how foreigners can't come here and work, because they want to protect the jobs for their nationals, which I think is a great idea to protect your labor force, your job opportunities for your nationals. But allowing other like Chinese to come in and like Alan was saying, not have to pay the same taxes because of that exchange, that seems to go against.
Right, it seems to go against what's actually happening, because
like
you
a
end up hurting.
yeah.
So yeah,
But it's government, so they do whatever they have to do. They needed the stadium, I suppose.
Yeah. So now let me take a look at a couple of the questions here. Now we did hear, and I'm not saying good or bad, we did hear that there was protest in San Jose. However, do you want to cover that?
Yes, because I did a lot of reading on that. And again, this is not anything that is on the news being covered. This is just people that we know, people that live here, that are following the situation. But there were protests. People are sharing their camera recording of the protest, and it was a lot of people. And on the first day of the protest, it was appearing on the news. It was appearing on the news Facebook pages, and then the very next day, everything disappeared. The articles that were there from the day before were no longer there. The news went silent about the protest. So I don't know what to think about that.
Normally,
but people do have their recordings on their phones. That's one thing about everybody having a video
phone
camera.
That's right.
And they're sharing it on Facebook.
I personally, I have told you guys, I don't think Costa Rica would ever mandate the vaccine because of what I've been seeing them do. And because I believe that the Ticos won't stand up for it, because there's a lot of Ticos that don't want the vaccine. However, was I ever wrong? Boy, was I wrong. So, hey, we give you information based on our experience, but we could be wrong. So, yes, people are protesting. And normally when people protest, I hate it when people protest, because the way they protest is that they block the roads, and then it's as if they're protesting against me, because now I can't go anywhere. But you have to understand, they know that if they block the roads, it stops everything. 18-wheelers can't deliver groceries, and it halts, it's a huge problem for everyone. In my thinking, it's like, okay, if you want to protest, go to San Jose, go to the Capitol, go to the government, give them a hard time. Don't give me a hard time, because you're only hurting your own people. But when you're a poor nation and you don't have a lot of money, you don't drive to the government. You don't drive to San Jose. You just block the roads where they are. And that's what they find is effective. Okay. So, I suspect that Costa Rica will stand up to this. I hope they do, because anytime you take away someone's freedom, I don't think it's good. If you want something, I think you should. If it's legal, I think you should have the freedom to do that. If you don't want something, I think you should have the freedom to do that. There's good reasons why you would want the vaccine. There are good reasons why you wouldn't want the vaccine. And there are reasons that are neutral or the same on both. For example, whether you get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine, both of these people can get COVID and both of these people can spread COVID. So to me, they look like they're identical. There's no difference between those two kinds of people. However, the government is doing a great job to divide the country and cause people to be mad at one another. And, at the end of the day, we need to remember we're both people and we need to respect one another. And it's about freedom of choice. I defended my country so that we can have the freedom to choose to be vaccinated or have the freedom to choose not to be vaccinated. It's not about, okay, your freedom of choice, run the red light. No, that's stupidity. Okay. You do have to follow the laws, but getting a vaccine is not a law. Okay. They want to mandate something, but is it about health? Well, there's a lot of things out there. People have serious reasons as to why maybe they have complications to vaccines. They have heart problems. They have other issues. Hey, I'm a very healthy guy and I like to use natural things. I don't like to take any kind of medications. So, there are, other alternatives other than a vaccine. So, I don't want to go into all of that, but I want to say is, I try to stay neutral in the whole thing and that, hey, I don't know the real reason why they're forcing a vaccine when there are other things that are just as good or if not better. So anyway, the one thing that I do know is that I respect whether you choose to or not choose to. And that's what I ask everyone to do on this channel. Be respectful. Don't get ugly. Because, we just delete those ugly comments and we ban people that are ugly, And, of course, they get mad and they hit the unlike button.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's hard to say totally because we've already said that we're not vaccinated and we don't want to be.
We're very healthy people. We have a plant-based diet.
Yeah, we respect other people's, decisions. But, we've even had some people comment and say, my goodness, people smoke and drink and run red lights and do all this harmful stuff. And they're worried about a vaccine. Well, no, we do take care of ourselves. We've moved to Costa Rica and went through a lot of hardships, self-imposed, but so that we could drink good water, clean water, so that we could have fresh air, so that we could grow organic fruits and vegetables. We don't smoke, we don't drink hard alcohol, so we, political or not, we are concerned about what what we do to our bodies, whether it's taking medications or I can't think of any.
Yeah, right. And here's a comment
but an unvaccinated person is not a sick person. Just because you're not vaccinated, we don't have the virus.
Now, and Rhonda makes a great comment here. Rhonda is already in Costa Rica. They love Costa Rica. They can live without all of that other stuff. And that goes back to what I said, what is your goal for being here? However, she brought up a very good point I need to bring up. It's very factual. Yes, Rebecca and I are spending thousands upon thousands of dollars here. However, at some point in time, Costa Rica could say, Alan, you're not vaccinated, so we're not letting you back in the country. Because, at some point in time, I'm going to either have to go back to the United States because I'm still required until I get my residency to, stamp out every 90 days. But guess what? My residency is in the process, but they could say, I'm sorry, but we're not approving any residencies unless you have the vaccine. Oh, there goes my chances of being a resident. And even once I become a resident, they might say, well, they may change it. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but on a worst case scenario, they might say, well, now you can't even buy groceries unless you have the vaccine. Who knows what might happen. So yeah, Rhonda, you're absolutely right.
And those are things to consider if you have not gotten into that position yet. We're already in it.
Yeah,
So
we're already here. And the way I look at it is,
we'll just have to leave, I guess. If
yeah,
they
I
say
mean,
that
if,
we have to.
and I'm going to say this, and I say this respectfully. Okay. Um, I trust God a whole lot. I trust God with my whole life. And the way I look at it is I'm spending his money. So if I build a house and I spend $100,000 on a tiny house and then I got to leave, crap. Oh, well, I'll just start again. Okay. I may not like it, but I'm not going to let it stop me from enjoying life. I am going to enjoy life. And while that's a lot easier said than actually doing it, and a lot of people are like, well, there ain't even a God. Well, that's okay. I respect you if you don't believe there isn't a God, but I do believe, and that's just our standpoint. My standpoint is, hey, I'm going to enjoy every day like it's the last day, but I'm also going to prepare like I'm going to live forever, because I do want to enjoy life as long as I possibly can. Right. So I'm here.
And not that we will never take a vaccine. We've had all of our shots, all of our vaccines, childhood things that are required. Of course, those things were tested over long course of time before they were administered to children. If time proves that, if the statistics change where it's not such a risk, I'm not against that if there's not a risk, but it's all about weighing your options. Mm-hmm. I was talking with Alan. I was trying to think of some example that I could maybe explain, but we've almost all of our family has had COVID and they've survived. They've done fine. My daughter-in-law was pregnant and caught COVID, and she and the baby were fine. There are a lot of people that died. When you look at the statistics for Costa Rica, well, I have the world statistics, but we'll just use Costa Rica for an example. There's like 5+ million people in Costa Rica, and something like 554. It's 10% of the population, 554,000, I believe, that have had COVID, and it comes out to about 10% of the population. And the percentage of the people that have had COVID that have died from it is, for Costa Rica, is right at 2%. So, but when you look at, and that's published information, you can find that on the internet. Some of the information that's not so readily available, or side effects, people that are having, and I'm hesitated because I don't know how much you can say on YouTube before they shut it down. But for us, the risk is greater than the risk we face of getting COVID.
It's like I said earlier, right?
Well, I was in the middle of giving them the example. I'm slow in it because I'm trying to be careful with.
We do have to be very careful because we want to state the facts to the best of our ability that we know. However, we respect everyone's choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my example that I kind of thought of, that I'm sure someone's going to comment and find and say that's not a good example. But anyway, it's the best that I could think of. But it's kind of like, okay, everybody's on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship sinks, and so we're all in the water now. And there are life rafts, and we actually went down, and there's shore ahead. And so I'm in the water. I can swim. I know how to swim. I'm a good swimmer. And I see on the shore that some of my family, some of my friends are already standing on the shore. I see a lot of people in the life rafts. And so they're safe. But I also see that, or I hear through people who are in the life raft, that there are rattlesnakes in the life raft. And most people aren't getting bitten, but some people are getting bitten and dying. So I have to weigh out my odds I'm a good swimmer. I see, you know, my family, my friends that are average like me, they're already standing on the shore versus getting in the life raft where there's a small percentage, but there's a chance that I'll get bitten by a rattlesnake and die. Plus the raft has a hole in it, and so they're going to have to swim at some point too, possibly. So for me, being that I'm a good swimmer, I'm going to choose just to go ahead and swim to the shore. Now I might get leg cramps, frostbite, whatever, depending on the how cold the water is. I might have some issues. I might even end up dying trying to swim to the shore. But I'm not going to have an effect on the people in the raft if they want to be in the raft. And had I been in the water and maybe had a missing limb or don't know how to swim, or I'm not in good health, I'm older, and I doubt that I can make it to the shore, you know what? My odds might be better to get in the life raft, even though there's rattlesnakes in there, because I have a better chance of survival that way. So I know it's not a perfect example, but this idea of that me choosing to swim to shore, because I think that with the statistics and the information that I've read, not everybody's getting the same information. That's part of the problem.
And that's the big problem. And the reality
a lot
is
of people aren't hearing all the same things. And I can't blame them if they're not hearing what I'm hearing.
Well, the reality is,
and I don't blame them, because
even
they're
though,
going by what they know.
Going back to your analogy, even though you choose to swim to the shore, you might die. You could choose to get in the raft, you might die. But you had freedom of choice, and you chose to do what you felt was best, depending on your health complications or your situation and your scenario. Right. So we respect everybody's choice. And, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of information out there. And it's important. I told you guys on one of the videos the other day, listen to this. Take note of this, okay? The biggest, the greatest lie in the world today is the fact that most people, and I asked this question on the other video, if you see a bunch of vultures circling in the sky, what does that mean? Everybody said there's a dead carcass down below. And that's the biggest lie in the world. That's the furthest thing from the truth. However, if you repeat a lie long enough, people will believe it, and it becomes truth, and people repeat it again and again and again. One of the things that I've learned as a young man is that, hey, search out the truth for yourself. Ask questions. Why? When I was in the Marine Corps, I said, well, why do we do it this way? And they would say, shut up and do it because I told you. No, I'm not shutting up and doing it because you told me. I want to become a good Marine, so I want to know the best way. So I want to know why I'm doing it. Okay. And so when I became an owner of a grocery store, I would tell them, look, this is how we do things here, but I'm open-minded. If you have a better way to do something, teach me. If it turns out to be better, great. But if it's not, we're going to go back to the best way that I have found out. Folks, we've got to be open-minded, willing to learn how to listen to other people, respect them. And you know what? If we'll listen to other people, then they'll listen to us, and then hopefully we can teach each other something. But don't take what someone says as gospel unless you verify that it's the truth. So it's very important that you learn that and just be respectful. That's the way I've tried to always be, and try to always be respectful. Hey, I'm human, so I'm going to make mistakes. And hey, I make myself mad sometimes. That's just the way it goes.
Like I said, when my accounting software comes out with a new update, or Microsoft comes out with a new update, I don't do the update immediately, because I've learned in the past that, I used to be, oh, good, it's an update, it's going to work better. And so I go ahead and do it quickly, and always there'd be some kind of bug, some kind of issue. So I just wait a little while, let all the other people work out the bugs, and then do the update.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of learn. And I have family that's in the medical field, that that I trust, and so you know, I know that they wouldn't lie to me, and and I know that they're seeing things firsthand, that they're not hearing it from somebody who said something. So I have my reasons.
Yeah.
But we said we wouldn't talk about
No,
that.
where you have to everyone has their own reasons. Doug is a great guy. Doug helps us out a whole lot. He's one of our moderators. You know what? Even though I choose not to be vaccinated, Doug has chosen to be vaccinated. He stated it publicly here. He made a decision based financially, based health-wise. Hey, man, I am so happy for Doug, because now, you know what? Doug, I think he said just him and his wife, but anyway, maybe his whole family didn't have any complications whatsoever. Man, I am so stoked for Doug. I mean, that's awesome. I'm stoked for everybody.
We have relatives that have taken the vaccine that had nothing happen.
I've got my own brothers. I got 2 brothers. They took the vaccine. Hey, that's awesome. That's great. So, everyone has got to make their own choice, okay? So it's important that you understand that, okay? I'm taking a look at some of the questions here.
So it does affect us, though, being in a foreign country, that, we're building, and things could change. But we knew that coming here 8 years ago. We knew that they could change some kind of law where they don't even allow foreigners to come into their country at all. I mean, look what happened at the beginning of the pandemic. The borders were closed.
Yeah, it's
a chance we're taking.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what you do, this is kind of, it goes back to, okay, what are you guys going to do? When all of these mandates came out, I sat down and I talked to Rebecca. And I says, you know what? I says, we don't really know what's going to happen with these mandates, but I think that these COVID mandates is going to end up eventually being worldwide. So let's just talk about this scenario. Let's pretend that the COVID mandates are worldwide. Everybody has to take the vaccine, or they can't go to certain places except essential businesses.
Can't fly.
Yeah. Would you rather be in the United States, where you got 3 months of winter, or you got all the snow, and you got all of this, and you got the mosquitoes, and you got the bugs, or would you rather be here? Well, for us, we would much rather be here because we love the mountains, the scenery, or maybe you love the beach. So if everywhere was the same, if everywhere had the COVID mandates, okay, then I'm loving it here. A lot of people are saying, oops, I'm going to Mexico. Oops, I'm going here. Well, you could, but once you get there, will they have COVID mandates? So, and hopefully they won't. But the way I'm looking at it is, you know what? We're here. We've already invested a ton of money. And guess what? I'm just not going to let it affect me, to the best of my ability, that is. I'm going to enjoy my time in Costa Rica. I'm building this beautiful tiny house. If you could only see what was in my mind, you'd be like, whoa, wow. Yeah. I mean,
but we're only able to do that because of what we enjoy.
That's right. We enjoy nature. We enjoy waterfalls. I love bushwhacking. I'm love building, but some people wouldn't like to do that.
We've been here for 8 years and never went to see a movie. We've been to the mall a couple of times, only because the iShop is in the mall. We do like to go to restaurants, but you can live without that.
Yeah, Rebecca, I think Rebecca's favorite thing is to enjoy a good meal at a restaurant with a good atmosphere. And for me, it's nothing better than to sit down with a great meal and a great glass of wine. I like that. But I can do that here too. I can build me a fire at the fire pit, and I can sit down at the fire, have a glass of wine. I can roast some marshmallows, wrap a bacon around it, and I can have bacon and marshmallows. I'm going to enjoy life. It doesn't matter what's going on, So for me, while there are things that get me down, for the most part, I'm going to do the best to enjoy life. And that's all we can hope for anybody.
Yeah, because you get down to.
Yeah, I'm human.
But we work our way.
Every once in a while, some kryptonite knocks me down. But so.
And if we were to get COVID, we would do just like anybody else. We would, there's things, medications that are available in Costa Rica that aren't available back in the United States that actually work well. And we have our insurance, and so if we got so sick that had breathing issues or whatever, then we'd go to the hospital. But we would, do like we do with anything else. Stay away from people, isolate. We're already isolated over here. We hardly ever see anybody. But,
now, here's a comment here that Albert asked and says, is the vaccination required for tourists? He doesn't want to get vaxxed, but he wants to come there. And so, no, Albert, right now, you're not required to get the vaccination. Yes, you can come here. You don't even have to have a negative test. However, when December 1st gets here, you can only go to places if you have a QR code. So that means if you want to come visit, great, come visit now and then leave before December 1st. Okay. But hey, by December 1st, it could all change. So everything.
Have questions. They mention hotels and cabinas or cabins in the original announcement, but they didn't say anything about Airbnb, and so that's a question that we're hoping that Outliers or somebody is going to be able to address, because if you come here and you can't stay at an Airbnb, you can't stay at a hotel, no cabins or anything, where are you going to stay?
Yeah. Now, Embers said, well, you won't be able to use the hospital if you're not vaxxed. Well, nobody has said that. Okay. So we try to be very careful not to state if it hadn't been said.
Yeah, that's true. I just assume you could go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You would think that's an essential.
Yeah. A hospital should be an essential, and so we just simply, they've only listed 2 things, but that's not an all-inclusive list. Obviously, it seems like going to the doctor, going to the dental is going to be essential services. I mean, if they say the dentist is not essential services, I'm stuck with this shiny bling on my teeth forever unless we get some pliers to it, right? So, no, we don't know what's going to happen. But if I get stuck with shiny bling, I'm pulling them off. So,
we're not asking for sympathy of, somebody saying, well, if it's so bad, then get the vaccine. No, like we said, we've weighed out, until there's more, less negatives, until the positives of getting the vaccine outweigh the negatives, then we're doing this to ourselves. We understand that. It's a choice that we make and have to live or die by. Only because we're in Costa Rica. In some countries, they're, I don't know, they're not even giving us essentials. It's like you just have to do it or else, which makes you wonder why.
So, right now we really have, nobody has the facts. And while we love to give you the information right away, sometimes I need to wait so that we can get updates, so that we can get more information, so that we can get clarification. Yeah. Okay.
We kind of just wanted to do a live and let you know that
the latest
update, and that there are a lot of unanswered questions that people are posing. People are looking for answers. And so, wait to see what they say. There's just a lot of unanswered questions.
There's a lot of unanswered questions, but the biggest thing was that people are concerned, is this going to affect tourists? Well, as of right now, according to Outliers Legal Service, who says that they were in touch with the Ministry of Health, it does affect the tourists and residents. It affects everybody. Okay.
There's not been an official announcement of that from the Ministry of Health or from the president. The original announcement did not specify.
Yeah. So, we're going to continue to enjoy life here. And of course, I use the analogy. I'm going to enjoy my wine and marshmallows. And someone, where are you going to get the marshmallows? Well, you can still go to the grocery store and buy essential items, okay? And food is an essential item. Now, if I put marshmallows in my buggy and they take it from me, okay, who cares? So, I'm not going to worry about all of that, and I'm still going to enjoy life, okay? If I can't have marshmallows, well, it is not the end of my world. If they don't, I'm going to make my own wine, so they can't stop me from that anyway. The deal is we're just going to enjoy
and
life.
We don't expect people to agree. That's not what we're trying to do. I guess we're just explaining because a lot of people are concerned and don't understand, but they're not hearing what we're hearing, apparently, and that's okay. If you've already had the vaccination and nothing has happened to you, then that's awesome. That's great.
It goes back to what I said earlier.
We're still waiting.
Educate yourself,
Yeah.
research. When no, I can't go there. But, it's just important to educate yourself and to learn. It is difficult to educate yourself because if you go looking on the internet, anybody can type anything and post it on the internet. So not everything on the internet is true.
Right.
So you do have to try to find trustworthy sources.
Right. Even sites like Wikipedia, we used to be able to trust the encyclopedias, the physical copies, the books. But Wikipedia is the online version, but it's the information that's in it is put by individuals. I could go on there and write put something in it. It's not to be held equal to like the encyclopedias from years gone by.
So there's lots of great comments and lots of things in here. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories, people commenting it's the end of the world. And, hey, maybe it is the end of the world. It's the mark of the beast. Maybe it is the mark of the beast. I don't have those answers, and I don't think anybody does. But what we can do is educate ourselves to the best of our ability.
But I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, go ahead.
But as I think of something, but the thing is, the way we believe, let's say someone does believe it's the mark of the beast, then why should they be forced to take it if in their hearts they believe that by taking it, they would be doing something absolutely horrible? And I know the point gets argued that, because we hear this on media, that the unvaccinated are causing the pandemic to continue, and the unvaccinated are the reason that things aren't going back to normal. Well, statistics don't support that,
Yeah. The most important thing is to educate yourself. And I know I said that a ton of times.
It all depends on what information is powerful.
It's kind of like I said before, a lot of people getting their information from one source. And so, of course, they believe all that. And it's like when we talk about rainy season here, rainy season, we have traveled all over Costa Rica. We have experienced a lot. Okay. And there are ticos that will tell you that rainy season is 9 months out of the year. Okay, I've lived here my whole life. Rainy season is 9 months out of the year. Yeah, but guess what? You've lived in the same place your entire life. And yes, where you live at, rainy season is 9 months out of the year. So that is your reality. That is your truth. And if that's the only information you have, then you're telling everybody rainy season is 9 months out of the year. But that's not the truth. The truth is rainy season for the most of Costa Rica is 6 months out of the year and 6 months of dry season. So you have to understand, some people get their information where it's 9 months out of the year, and the death rate is half of the people are dying because they don't get the vaccine, or half the people are dying because they do get the vaccine. However, if you take the time to educate yourself and you traveled all over Costa Rica like we have, then we've learned, and that's the reason we can give you some amazing information, is that we have the experience. I don't live in one place and I'm having to look for this stuff. We've lived practically everywhere, not every single place, but we do try to validate our information, check everything, and we can say, you know what, based on our experience, based on all of the research, yeah, rainy season is 6 months out of the year. And
but if you go on the Caribbean side,
it's
they
not,
don't even
they
have
don't
a
even
rainy
have a
season.
rainy season. And so we always talk about that as well. So, it's
Caribbean
important.
side is kind of a natural, more natural. Rains a couple of days, it's sunny a few days. They don't have a season where it's mostly rain and then a season where it's mostly dry. It's mixed because their weather is influenced by the storm systems and the winds coming from the Caribbean. Whereas once you have hit that middle mountain range, the Central Valley over to the Pacific, their weather's influenced by whole different systems.
Yeah, a whole different system on that side. And like Doug said, well, if it is the end of the world, I hope I can spend some more time in Costa Rica before it ends. Me too, right?
Yeah.
So
I have all the respect in the world for people who made whatever choice. I guess I just want to be not
but now
hounded for my decision, especially when it doesn't really affect.
Now Silver Turtle here has a good comment, and I'd love to answer. And so Silver Turtle says, vaccinated or unvaccinated, if you get sick, we put our trust in doctors and hospitals to save us from a bad outcome. So why don't you trust your doctor's advice? I do trust my doctor's advice. And my doctor says, don't take the vaccination. Okay. So some doctors agree in the vaccine. Some doctors don't agree in the vaccine. But
and
more than doctors,
just one doctor, we've talked to
a lot of doctors, and
at least 5.
Now, here's what's crazy is that there's tons of doctors and nurses who have been mandated to take the vaccine or lose their job, and they're walking out. That immediately makes me say, what do they know that I don't know? That they're willing to lose these big paying jobs instead of take the vaccine. But more importantly, bottom line is, I don't trust the doctors more than I trust God. Obviously, God uses doctors as well, but I do trust God more than I trust doctors. You can call me crazy right now, and that's okay, but anyway, that's just who I am, okay? Doug says, on the Caribbean side, they measure rain in feet. And, sometimes on the Caribbean side, they can get a lot of rain.
Yeah. And there's pretty much one road in, one road out, and that road continually gets
bombarded. So if it washes out, you're stuck until they fix it, and it could be a long time. And Rhonda has said the same thing. Her doctor has advised her not to take any kind of vaccine, regardless of what kind, because of her personal complications. Okay, and it's important. There's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, if you've had COVID and you've healed from it, you automatically have
the immunity.
You're building up the what is it called? The antibodies. Just like I've been bitten by so many spiders, I'm just building up antibodies. It won't be long, I'll be Spider-Man. Woohoo! I keep looking for webs. Anyway, all right. So
it's good to laugh. We're not making light of.
We're not making light of.
It's a very serious situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the way around.
Absolutely. I like to have fun, and I have to hold myself back sometimes because some people would be offended because this is a serious topic. But hey, we can also enjoy life while we're doing it. And that's I sent out an email. Hey, get your apple juice, get your tea. You can have tea with Rebecca. You can have apple juice with me, but we're just going to sit in our living room and just have a good chat and try to answer questions and just try to have a good time. And I love all the interaction because people come to our lives and they talk with each other. They chat with one another, and they it's like a whole family here. I love it because, you know, I see Brian talking back and forth and he's sharing how he's coming here, and other people are like, I envy you, congrats, you know, we're coming too. It's this whole everybody's having a conversation at the same time. Are y'all listening to me? Everybody's talking at once. Okay.
I think it's great. I really love
Oh, I love it. I love that everybody's having a great time. I never can pronounce this right, but Hallelujah Khan says, ain't nothing that apple juice can't fix. And I agree. All right. Silver Turtle says, life is good. Pura vida. We are all mortal. Enjoy every day. That's right. Absolutely.
Amen.
You know, so, you know, we're just really all just having a great time. You know, and someone said it earlier. Hey, look, pandemics is come and pandemics leave. You know, this too shall pass. You know, I'm a firm believer that through a situation right now that looks terrible, but it's going to pass. And for the people that change their mind about Costa Rica, well, guess what? In a year or two, when this passes, man, it's going to be, Costa Rica is going to be land for the taking, man. Look out. You know, so get your eyeballs ready on the perfect piece of property, because, you know, it's going to be up for grabs. You're going to be able to get what you want, and life's going to be good again, and everything is going to change. And so I'm just believing that, you know what? Hey, it's going to be awesome. Our best days are in front of us, not behind us. And we're just going to have a great time. That's all it is to it. Okay. Don't get me preaching here. I'll have to take up a tithe.
And the thing is that Costa Rica is doing what it seems like a lot of other countries are doing. So I guess people are shocked because kind of thought that, you know, with the Pura Vida
Mentality,
motto, you know, mentality, the love of the country has for its citizens, you know, we're just kind of in shock that they're going through these links. Boy, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. But hey, on another note here, John says, well, what about the airports? Do you think they're going to ask for vaccination proof? As of right now, they're not. You know, Costa Rica is saying, you know, it's almost like Costa Rica wants their cake and eat it too. You know, they're like, hey, tourists, come. It sucks that when you get here that you can't do anything, but come.
Yeah, but for the vaccinated, you know, we've had a lot of people tell us, I'm so glad they're doing it.
Yeah,
I was afraid to go, you know, because there were so many people not wearing their mask, and so many people, you know, they weren't mandating the vaccine. So I was afraid to go. And now that they're going to mandate the vaccine, now I'm feel more secure to go to Costa Rica.
You know,
so you know, it depends on where you're coming from with, you know, with all of that.
Yeah. You know, there's, you know, like Rebecca said, there's a whole lot of people that have been vaccinated. And so now they're extremely glad that Costa Rica is doing this. And they're all excited about coming now because for whatever reason, even though they were vaccinated, they were scared to come because they saw videos of people who didn't wear the mask, which that's a lie because, well, I can't say it's a lie. Maybe they saw videos of some people on the beach, and in public places, you don't have to wear a mask. Yeah, and obviously they don't. Right. But beaches, all that was all open. But you know, Costa Rica has always had the mask mandate. We never got a chance to take a break from going somewhere without the mask. We've always had to have the mask indoors, always had to wash your hands, always, you know, social distancing. We never got a break from any of that. Okay. So we've always had the mask mandates, you know.
And those things apparently have worked. You know, Costa Rica's numbers, they say spiked, but when you look at the statistics, their numbers were really low for a long time compared to the world average, and then the numbers started to spike. But you know, something that that we realized is that their public medical system is where people pay what they call caja. So they pay an insurance, like a hospitalization premium based on their income one time a year. And, you know, they pay that premium. So the healthcare is not necessarily free, but it's minimal cost because it's based on your income. You pay one time a month, the Ticos.
And it's very cheap.
Yeah, and it's very cheap considering the quality of medical care that they receive. Other than that, there's long waiting lines, and things like that. But anyway, what I was getting at is they once they pay that premium, whether they go to the hospital for to have a baby or have a heart transplant or go because they have a cold and sore throat and headache, it doesn't cost them anything additional.
Yeah,
unless they go to a private hospital. So we're talking about just the social medical care, and so their numbers started to spike some. But we start talking about that. If you start to get the flu or anything else, and you think it might be COVID, you're gonna go to the doctor if it's free.
If it's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah, you think about it. Not that it's not free because they pay that premium one time a year, but it's not going to cost any out of pocket beyond that premium to go. Kind of like in the United States. When we had Blue Cross Blue Shield in the United States, I mean, we would be sick at home. We did not go to the doctor for every little cold symptom or whatever. We did things at home, home remedies and stuff like that, because our deductible, it costs. So we didn't
cost money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, people that have Medicaid, those type things that it doesn't cost them, then they go. So my point I'm trying to make is that here it doesn't cost to go.
And that's why. So some people ask, well, why are the hospitals just overwhelmed? Well, if it don't cost you anything to go to the hospital other than your very affordable monthly, well, then, the hospitals are overwhelmed because you stub your toe and you go to the hospital. But in the United States, when it's going to cost you every single time you go, well, you suck it up and you fight it out at home. So it is a big difference. Now, let me just reemphasize on the whole airport thing.
Aren't sick. They are sick.
Well, they are sick, but
that's why they started contracting with the private hospitals, which had no increase, no overwhelming, because the people weren't just going there.
So, but let me emphasize again on the airport thing. At the airport, yes, they're going to ask. I don't think they're ever going to make you have that vaccine prior to coming. Okay, no, when you go to Costa Rica, you have to fill out the health pass. And on the health pass, they're going to ask if you have the vaccine or not. If you have the vaccine, then you don't have to buy health insurance. If you don't have the vaccine, you have to buy health insurance. And then once you fill out all the information, you do get this QR code. And this QR code is going to state whether or not that you filled out the health pass. But you're not going to be, I don't believe they're going to ever force you to have the vaccine prior to coming, because right now, Costa Rica, they want the tourists to come, but they also want as many people as possible to be vaccinated in order to go do everything possibly sociable. So they're saying, okay, tourists, you can go ahead and come. And we even want the people that are not vaccinated to come. And if you come here, you can go visit Alan and Rebecca or visit your family, but you can't stay at hotels. You can't go anywhere except the pharmacy and the grocery stores and essential services. So it's important to understand. They're not going to make you have a vaccine before coming, but you're limited as to where you can go once you get here.
I think that's pretty much saying we're not going to stop you from coming, but we'd rather you not. I mean, that's trying to discourage people that are not vaccinated from coming. Either that, or you look at it the other way. They're trying to encourage people who are not vaccinated to get vaccinated so that you can come. I guess that's more the situation. They don't have to allow people.
Yeah, they don't have to allow people to come in here. Yeah. And so I think what they're saying is, hey, come over here, spend whatever money you can. We'll take it. But we hope that you will consider getting vaccinated so that you can enjoy the tourism.
Either way,
And so yes, you're right, Sandy. Yeah, if you don't take the vaccine, the only place you're going to be able to go is the grocery store and the pharmacy and other essential businesses. They haven't given us an all-inclusive list of what those essential businesses are. Okay,
and like we've said, they've not addressed specific things yet, and I guess that's what we're wanting to let y'all know on this live. It's not been set in stone. We still don't know. Can you go in the banks? Can you go into the rental car place, to rent a car when you come? Can you go on the beach and stay in a tent if you want to? There's too many unknowns at this point. So
yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, and we can only give you our opinion, and our opinion could be absolutely wrong. Okay, just like Carl as a Tico. I'm not 100% certain, but Carl with me. It's okay. You don't have to agree with me. But Carl says people aren't overwhelming the hospital because it's free. Most Ticos I know avoid going to the doctor unless they absolutely have to. Well, yeah, nobody likes to go to the doctor because the waiting lists are forever long. But you have the Tico mentality of, well, pura vida, I got nothing else to do, and I'm sick, so I'm going to the doctor. But in his opinion, they don't. Well, that's just my opinion. And his opinion is they don't go for every little thing. And so yeah, I could absolutely be wrong,
well,
Carl.
I think he's probably right in that they don't go for every little thing, but because
if you're sick,
there's such a scare about COVID that if they have something that may be just a cold or a flu, they're going to the doctor to go see if they have COVID. Is what I meant to get across. And so, whereas people maybe would have, like a lot of people that we know just toughed it out at home, didn't ever go to the hospital when they had COVID. They did the home test and knew that they had COVID. They never got sick enough that they felt like they had to go be hospitalized. And, they got through it with no problem, but other people have had to be hospitalized because their symptoms were so severe.
There's,
and it affects different people differently.
Yeah.
There's some people that can't breathe, and there's, they on the brink of death. And then there's a lot of people that, our family members that are like, yeah, it was probably the worst feeling thing that I've ever had, but made it.
Yeah.
Made it through.
Now, on a different topic here, Doug was asking, hey, this green screen behind you, does it block a lot of the light during high sun? We need a screen in the hot areas around the house. Absolutely. This stuff is phenomenal. While it doesn't keep out every single little bitty bug, but man, it is fabulous for shade. We rented a house that was over in Potrero Grande, and man, where the bedroom was at, it was the sun. You could not sleep past 6 o'clock. Wow, the heat. So I ended up buying a bunch of this and creating kind of like a shaded area on the other side of it. Wow, did it ever knock down the sun? We could sleep as late as we wanted to if I worked late, So yeah, this is absolutely good stuff, and it's not all that expensive.
Yeah, but it's shade cloth, I think is what it's called. And it works really. You can feel a temperature difference, Doug, when we have the sides down and it's bright and heating up things. When you walk into this little section, it's like it's a few degrees cooler. It seems like it's not that great for anti-bug.
Yeah, not 100% anti-bug. We get these tiny no-see-ums.
But it keeps out the big bugs.
Now, Tanya asked a question, schools are essential, right? We really don't know. Right now, as far as I know, they're not making it mandatory for students to get vaccinated. Well, Costa Rica, they're not vaccinating anyone 12 or that's under 12 years of age. I think 12 and up. But, some rumor has it, don't know there's any truth, that as soon as they get vaccinations for children, then they're going to require them to do the same thing or not go to public places. So anyway, what's important to state is nobody's being forced to get the vaccine, but in reality, you are being forced if you want to enjoy everything, right? So no, you're not being forced. We can stay here forever and enjoy life and only buy groceries and pharmacies if those are the only two things. But reality is, hey, if you want to enjoy life, you're being forced, right? So anyway, it all depends on how you look at it. Hey, no, Doug, the only color this screen comes in is green, as far as I know. I've only seen it in green.
I think I've seen it in black.
Have you seen it in black?
I think
I've seen black plastic, but I've never seen this green screen in anything but green. But I'm not the green screen expert.
I think I've seen it used like on the forms as a shade cloth.
Yeah. Now, Jobs says, anyway, I think it's Jobs Owie. He says, question, any quarantine wait for tourists? No, when you come in there, you don't have any quarantine. Now, obviously, if you get detected with COVID, yeah, you got to quarantine. Okay. But like right now, for us to go to Panama, even if we have a negative COVID test, we still have to quarantine in Panama for 72 hours. Okay. If we wanted to go visit Panama. So if we don't have the vaccine, we have to quarantine in Panama for 72 hours. Then we can go and enjoy life. Well, that's not the case for Costa Rica. So I hope that answered your question. So, yeah, Brian Allen, I guess, Brian, that's a good comment. Brian said coerced, not forced. You're right. I'm not being forced, just coerced. I'm being motivated or highly encouraged to get the vaccine.
Yeah. I mean, in the U.S., some places were given $100 gift cards.
Yes, a lot of people are encouraged to get the vaccine because they're given a $100 gift card. Well, so I'm just kind of looking through the comments here. And if I haven't answered your question or you have something you really want me to address, hey, please put it in the comment because I'd love to answer your question. I see we got 35 likes. We got 3 dislikes. I'm not sure why people would dislike it, but hey, you don't have to agree with me. We're just trying to share our information. So if you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't know why you'd still be here. We just try to give the information best as we can. And we're not taking a side, okay? So anyway, that's just part of it. And don't forget a 1-year supply of Krispy Kremes. I wish you could get Krispy Kremes here in Costa Rica. You can't even hardly get a donut in Costa Rica. Costa Rica sweets, on a cultural side note.
They do have donuts, but they're not sweet like.
Yeah, they're not the same kind.
Krispy Kreme.
Question, is there any pushback on the criminally frauded PCR test in Costa Rica? Are they stating the cycles used? Is there anyone fighting this crime there? I really haven't heard anyone. Ticos are very obedient people. Now, of course, I think maybe the tourists would be the ones that might be doing some kind of fraud stuff. I don't know. But, I haven't heard anything as far as any of that going on. Okay. And in Costa Rica, it doesn't mean it's not going on.
We haven't heard it.
And one thing that's real important is even though they have all these mandates, Costa Rica does not have the ability to enforce these mandates. So while they're saying you can't go into any of these businesses unless you show your QR code, who's going to enforce that? Costa Rica can't even enforce the awful driving conditions they have here because they just don't have enough police. So people are constantly speeding, constantly passing you uphill around a blind curve, putting everybody's life in jeopardy. There's people constantly driving with no tail lights, no headlights. There's tons of illegal activity in Costa Rica. They simply do not have enough police to enforce that. So if you don't have police to enforce the safety of people on the highway, how are they ever going to enforce not going into the casinos or enforce anything if they don't have a way to enforce it? Now, I'm not, they might find a way, but I'm just saying,
and that's not something that we know for a fact. That's something that
based on experience.
Yeah. And Chicos that we've talked to that have that same sentiment.
But most Ticos are very, very, very obedient. If the government tells them that they need to start taking a bath outside every single day and they're going to be healthy, they're going to do it. Okay. Ticos are they're very, very obedient people. Now, there's still going to be people that break the law. There's still going to be people. However, we're just saying as a general rule, okay, just so that you have an idea.
But
Carl,
they do stand up whenever it's something.
They do. They will stand up, protest, and strike.
Remember that they wanted to pass that tax that they all felt was just not fair, not a fair tax. That it was going to cause too much financial strain on the business people. A lot of people protested.
Now, Carl brought up a good topic here. And Carl, I'd like to know how you know this. But Carl said, if you do a border run to Panama City via Copa Airlines, okay, so in other words, book a flight via Copa Airlines, probably wouldn't be that expensive. Then you don't even need to go through Panama immigrations. You pick up some Krispy Kremes, board your flight, and go back to Costa Rica for a new stamp. Woohoo!
I have heard that from other people that have done the run. They said just don't even get out of the airport.
So does that mean, Carl, that if I were to do that by plane, I'm not going to have to quarantine for 72 hours? I'd like to know that,
Yeah, because that's something we might consider doing.
Yeah, I consider doing that. Okay. Another question here from Sean says, when completing the health pass, my vaccination card will be accepted as proof. I'm traveling from the UK. And I think your vaccination card will be accepted as proof. Costa Rica is accepting most forms of the COVID vaccination, but I can't say for certain that they're accepting every one of them. I think Costa Rica mainly wants you to be vaccinated. And so if you show proof of your card and there's a way to upload that, then, you get your QR code that shows proof that you've been vaccinated. So I don't think you're going to have any problem whatsoever, Sean. If you've been vaccinated coming from the UK, I think you're golden. Okay. And Costa Rica has already stated that they're trying to do something similar to the UK with UK and the QR code. So I don't think you're going to have any problem.
The only thing that I've heard that could be a potential problem is that they are only accepting vaccine proof of vaccination of the what would you call it? Type of vaccine that is approved in Costa Rica.
Now, Carl replied back, and Carl says, if you book a flight for early in the morning to Panama City, you land, you wait in the airport for your flight coming back that you booked that evening, then you don't ever leave the international terminal. It secures and handles all your connections. So no quarantine. That's awesome. We're going to need to look into some tickets. Okay.
I have heard. But what I was saying about, I don't know, I can't remember where I read this, but Costa Rica accepts for sure Pfizer and what's the Zeneca and
I can't remember.
Darn, but you can look it up.
Yeah, they're only taking 2.
They're only administering 2, but they accept. I think the Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer. I'm not sure about the Moderna. I'm sorry that I can't remember right off. But anyway, it's something to check into, because if you got a vaccination that's not one that they approve of, then I've heard that they're not going to accept that. So there's a mosquito. Oh, goodness. I don't know what else to talk about. Let's see if we have a question. But we've tried to stay, until we announced that we had not taken the vaccine, we were able to stay a little more, middle of the road, not give our opinion about anything. But once Alan said that, then we got a lot of questions and a lot of feedback. So we we addressed that somewhat. So I apologize if we said a little too much, maybe, but definitely respect everybody's opinion, um, and respect everybody's decision. If they made the best choice that they could for themselves.
Yeah.
And, and that
It's like you said,
and that we strongly believe that it should be your own choice. That's the thing.
we truly, we respect your choice. Okay. We're happy for you, whether you do or you don't. Unfortunately, whenever I did announce that we've just chosen not to, hey, we're very healthy people. Man, I got emails of people cussing me out left and right. You idiot, go get your vaccination. Blah, blah. You're putting people at risk,
Someone even blaming us for their loved one's death. I'm very sorry for their loss, but
so look, we respect everybody.
I wouldn't hurt anybody.
I would never cuss you out because you chose to do whatever. I've had people just really ugly at me, and when you're ugly at me, hey, I just try to be nice and smile. Man, I'm really sorry, that that's what's happening. But hey, it's just part of it. What I recognize is that some hurt people hurt other people, and they're dealing with their own issues. And man, look, I'm sorry that you've got issues and you've got problems. Try not to take it out on me.
Yeah. It's kind of like, this is not all that great of an example either, but it come to my mind. It's like somebody taking birth control pills so that they don't get pregnant, and then telling me that I need to take birth control pills too so that they don't get pregnant.
Yeah.
So
now, I think, because our residency is still in process, I was telling Rebecca, because the comment here, Costa Rica's best guide says, with the new digital nomad law that allows people to stay for a year and extend for a year, it might be a good time to offer that. And so I'm actually trying to get that right now, but we're trying to find out, have they implemented that yet? Because even though it's a law now and it's been passed, they still have to implement that stuff. So, a good alternative right now, because, hey, this stuff will pass too. So a good one, if you can meet the requirements, is to become a digital nomad. We are digital nomads, and to be able to get that
residency status.
To get that status, it's not a residency.
It's
just a status. It's a visa. It's a permission to be here, and we can be here for up to 2 years with that extension, and not have to worry about driving or anything, because we have that. So that's where I'm working on this week to see about, okay, contacting the people. What's the status on our resident? Well, can you finish that up? Yeah. Should we go ahead and do the digital nomad
thing?
If
we go with the digital nomad thing, does this then cancel our residency? Application? Will we have to start all over with that process?
Yeah. Sandy added to your birth control thing and says, or I got to wear a raincoat so you don't get wet, Anyway, there's a lot of things.
It would be understandable if you could not possibly get pregnant taking birth control or wearing a raincoat. You could not possibly get wet. But with the case of the vaccine, it's the statistics are showing that within a few months, and it varies from one vaccine to the other, how long the protection is.
Yeah.
But it's not 100%.
Now, Jobs AOE asked, is there any requirement on employers and businesses to require the injections on staff at the workplace? And yes, they did announce that with these COVID mandates, it's totally up to private employers. Private employers can mandate their employees to get the vaccine, but the private employers must themselves enforce it. Outside forces aren't going to enforce it for them. So private employers can decide for their employees, you must get the vaccine, or, hey, don't worry about it. I'm not getting the vaccine. You don't have to get the vaccine. And what some of the private employers have told me, hey, I'm not going to require it from my employees. I know people would quit. It's hard to find good help, and I'm not going to make them get the vaccine. So, but I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Those mandates have been out for a couple of months now.
So, And you know, Costa Rica's best guide says that law, and I'm not sure which law he's talking about, but yeah, there's the digital nomad law, and then there is the incentive for people to come and be residents. Those have already been published in the official La Gaceta official government paper, but they still have to put everything together so people can start using that. So I don't know if that's what Costa Rica's best guide is talking about or not. But yeah, when they do pass a new law, it does have to be published in there before it ever is official. But those have been official, okay? Okay. Yeah, and so Brian Allen said that hey, he got the COVID while he was traveling and while he was wearing the mask, you know, and he did fine, and now he's better and he has immunities. He's got better immunities than those that are actually vaccinated. So you know, there are reasons. Those people that do get COVID, you're healed up. A lot of people don't have any problems, you know, or minor problems. It's similar to the flu. It's kind of funny, you know, similar to the flu, but we don't even hear about people with the flu anymore. What's the deal? Anyway.
It's nothing that we take lightly. We know that people are dying from it. It's just for us. And if we be in a different situation, we might make a different decision, you know?
Yeah.
But I would like to have the freedom and the right to make that decision for myself. You know, I really can't say much about if they want to take away privileges. If I don't, well, that's still my decision. But
yeah, so it look, you know, really so anyway, that's really, you know, unless you have another question about the whole COVID thing, you know, that's really all we can tell you. We're really just speculating. If you have other questions, comments about anything, you know, what we're doing with the off-grid thing, you know, this week I'm actually putting in water lines so that we can have fresh, clean water from the rivers. You know, even though we do have water right now, you know, we use water from the landowner, the guy that we're leasing from. But you know, we're at the height of rainy season and it's about to dry up, and he feels like he doesn't really have enough water, or he wants to make sure he has plenty of water. So anyway, I've got to put in water lines, and I'm doing videos about all of that. And we're just having a lot of fun. So, hey, love to answer any questions you have about any topic that's about Costa Rica.
yeah. And the summation on the mandates is there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and we're going to be
best thing to do is to stay subscribed
as we can.
Yeah, stay subscribed, get on our newsletter so we can update you about all of that. Someone said COVID ate the flu. That's what happened to it. Yeah, maybe so. Okay, so we're having an absolutely blast here on the Off-Grid Homestead. I've been super busy and hadn't had a chance to actually get back to my building. We're getting the water system ready. I'm getting my garden ready. Oh, good. Hey, guess what we did for the first time? So I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? Day before yesterday. You know, I planted some lettuce not too terribly long ago, but we actually got some lettuce for our tuna fish sandwiches off of our own free organic lettuce the other day. And I got carrots that are ready. So I can't wait to do some videos to show you. I'm going to be pulling some carrots out, and I'm probably going to have to fight with Bugs Bunny on my carrots. But anyway, we got carrots ready and our lettuce is ready. So anyway, and I can't wait to get the rest of our garden going. Because, you know, hey, I love to eat organic, and we buy a lot of stuff, but I really want to have my own. And of course, you know, we're trying to be self-sufficient here, not for any crazy end of the world reason or zombie apocalypse or anything like that. I love zombies. They protect our property. You know,
don't even go into all that craziness.
So anyway, you know, we like to be self-sufficient because we are very, very remote, and I enjoy doing all that kind of stuff. So anyway,
it'd be nice not to have to travel too much to go get, you know, a few things. You can't keep lettuce and and things for a long time. Um, you can't like buy a 3-month supply of lettuce.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, that's a good question. Someone asked us, well, how long is your lease? We have a lifetime lease. Well, actually, we have a 99-year lease. Okay. And, but we have a very unusual circumstance. The landowner actually asked us to come here, and so he signed a lease like that because he actually wants us to come here and kind of help him, because he's a lot older now, and he's not as healthy as he used to be. So we have a very unusual circumstance. It costs us $1 a year for our lease, and you have to pay something to make it legal. So we have a phenomenal situation here, because a lot of people have asked, why in the world are you building and helping out someone else's property? Well, since I don't have to pay money to live here, other than $1 a year, then guess what? It's like owning a piece of property without ever having to pay for it. Okay. And I'm actually helping someone out. I'm probably one of the nicest guys in the world, man. I'll give you the shirt off my back, and well, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And so the guy needed us to come out here and help him. And that's what we're doing. We're here really just to, in case something happens to him, he gets sickly, we're here. So we have a phenomenal deal here. Okay.
I'd say it's not the usual.
No, it's not the usual. I don't know that you could find a deal like that, but who knows? You might can.
Yeah. But I have seen, and it's on one of our resources that we mentioned in the on the forum. There's a website that has a section called, what is it called? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's opportunities, because he's not going to know. He didn't look at it that much, but it's unusual opportunities for like there'll be somebody that'll say, you can come live in my outdoor kitchen space, or I have a little guest casita, kind of like a mother-in-law house, in exchange for maybe taking care of the garden, or going get groceries for me. Somebody who's started to need help, and so they don't charge you any rent. So there are those type of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked to that one guy, and this one guy, he would let you live for free if you would prepare all
his meals,
all his plant-based meals. Yeah. So yeah, you can find some deals like that. That guy has 2 or 3 tiny pieces of property, and
those are mostly gringos that have been here, and they're getting
older and they need help.
Yeah, and they're not able to tend to things like they used to, and so they want some help. There's one that's not that well. No, they closed that one, but there was one that wasn't very far from here that you could live for free in exchange for doing your share of working on the farm and whatever chores we're involved with maintaining the place.
Yeah. Now there's a couple of questions here on different homes, and can you import prefab homes? And importing things are very, very difficult. Okay, but look, there's a lot of prefab homes that Ticos, a lot of Ticos put up prefab homes that are concrete. The government has a program for poor people, and they will give you a prefab concrete house. Now, it's not 100% done, but you have a structure with a metal tin roof, doesn't have a ceiling, doesn't have electricity, doesn't have plumbing, but it is a concrete house. And then you got to put in the very minimal, plumbing and electrical, the ceilings, but they basically give you a house. So the prefab house you could put
not
up
foreigners now.
Yeah, not for foreigners. This is only for the Ticos. Yeah. But you could buy a prefab concrete house, and wow, you can have that sucker up in 2 weeks and be living in a concrete house. So those and fairly cheap, a lot cheaper than building something out of wood. Now, you kind of don't have a whole lot of options there. You can make nice places, but it is a little bit more difficult.
They are coming up, if you have a little bit more money to spend on them, they are coming up with some really cute architectural designs. That's not the typical prefab house that's pretty much just a square, 2-bedroom, 1-bath square. So the materials are available and the designs are available readily around Costa Rica, and because the temperature is so mild, you don't need all that insulation and things like that you might need in other climates. So you can build a house for modest resources.
Yeah, Carl brings out a great point, saying that import taxes on importing any kind of prefab construction would be making it too expensive, more than it's worth. And Carl is right on that. Importation is crazy high. So yeah, it just wouldn't be worth it, in my opinion. And, Brian asked, hey, are y'all going to be doing any canning up there? And yes, we will be doing some canning eventually. I used to can some pears, and man, those things are good. I snuck in from being outside. My son was at home, and I caught him with the whole jar of pears. He was like this. he was drinking them pears. Anyway, I like to do that kind of stuff.
You want to do figs and bread and butter pickles, and
tomatoes are so easy to grow. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with tomatoes, creating your own sauce, growing peppers and making your own hot sauce. So there's a lot of stuff that we are going to be doing that I can't wait to share on our channel. We're busy right now getting set up, but now that we're set up, there's a lot of videos we want to do showing you our organic, let's see, I don't know, showing you our very healthy breakfast that we do for pancakes. And it's not the typical pancake. It's very healthy. Anyway, lots of stuff we want to share with you.
Right now, we're not eating as healthy as we normally do because it's such a long drive down the mountain to the grocery. So we're having to eat a lot of prepackaged things until everything kicks off.
Yeah, I hate eating prepackaged stuff. And we try to eat as chemical free as we can. So seldom ever do we buy anything that's in a can. And I'm scared of eating chicken because of the stuff they do to them, and beef. And so now I'm not afraid to eat my own chicken, even though we try to eat a plant-based diet. Most of the chicken we have is basically for Nikki, because Nikki has told me, hey, look, you might not want to eat meat, but I like meat in my food. So, I cook all of Nikki's food, and we cook chicken and meat and ground meat for her, and eggs. So anyway, we're doing a lot of stuff, and I'm looking forward to having lots of fun. Now, Will Estate here commented, says, I feel like Costa Rica was laying a good trap for people, or enticing people with the reduced $150,000 investment requirement for residency. And yeah, absolutely. That, that's why I'm shocked that Costa Rica has done what they've done, because,
it's like they've done a
180-degree turn,
It was all going, things were opening up. Everything was
so it makes you wonder why all of this, when they were pushing so much to boost tourism. And in my opinion, it's just going to kill tourism, but we hope not, So anyway.
Well, it may not kill it, but it definitely will lessen it for about half the people, I guess.
Yeah. Now, mail and shipping to and from Costa Rica. And let me just tell you, it's terrible. Okay. So, anytime you have to, you have to understand that the mail system in Costa Rica is not at all like the mail system in the United States, where you got the postman walking down the street delivering mail to every house. That don't happen. Nobody has a mailbox. Well, I can't say nobody. Some people have a little box, but it's just not the same. So it's very difficult to get mail.
It's rare that somebody has a mailbox.
Yeah, it's very rare that anyone has a mailbox.
But some people do.
Look,
people have post office boxes.
We have
a PO box.
I just got to share this quick story since you're talking about delivering. You can get stuff delivered to you. Like, I don't have to go to San Jose and pick up stuff. Rebecca ordered something from San Jose. The people was going to ship it to her by bus. That happens all the time. However, it's just not the same. They don't communicate. And so they told her, well, we can only ship it to San Isidro, not to Buenos Aires. So we end up driving 3 hours to go all the way to Paris Celedon, San Isidro, go to the bus stop. Oh, no, it's shipped to Buenos Aires. And, it's ridiculous. There is no communication. And so now we spend all this time wasted going to San Isidro to pick up something that they told her, you got to pick it up at the bus stop in San Isidro, only to travel all the way back to Buenos Aires and pick it up at that bus stop. So the mail system, communication, it will drive you nuts. It's one of those things that drive me crazy about Costa Rica. I'm still here though. So we often say, if you don't like it, go home, gringo. So
Yeah.
it's just
It
part
tends
of
to work though. I mean, it's different, but it tends to work. So it's strange to us that I can order something and they put it on the bus for me, and then they do verify who you are before they let you pick it up.
Yeah.
So you do have
Yeah.
to show identification. So it's not like somebody can just go to the bus stop and pick up your
Yeah.
package.
Khan asked, are we lower or higher from the division? And I don't know what altitude the division is at, but we are at 4,000. We're at a little over 4,700 feet in altitude. So, which means we don't have hardly any problem with bugs, which hardly any place in Costa Rica has problem with bugs except for the beach. Beach has a lot of problems with mosquitoes, depending on where you're at. But we're at a little over 4,700 feet, don't have problems with mosquitoes hardly. I'm out all day long, don't have hardly any problem with bugs. But we just have a
Except
great
at night
altitude.
because our lights attract them.
Yeah.
But
Carl
she's
mentioned
talking about the divide. We're definitely lower than
Yeah,
the
if she's talking about the divide, at the very peak, I
Right.
don't know how high that is. And I
don't
guess
know.
it's different depending on where at the divide you go. Okay. Now, Doug did bring up a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Doug. Doug says we shipped our documents to our lawyer from Northern Canada by UPS. It did cost $100, but it was there in less than a week. So I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah,
Doug.
because we got off
Yeah.
of the track.
We got
started talking about
sidetracked.
something else.
If you ship via DHL, via UPS, something like that, not the normal USPS, United Postal Service, not the regular mail system, you can get things faster. You will pay a premium for that, but you can get it. Okay. And yeah, you can buy stuff from Amazon. You're going to pay a premium and you're going to pay import taxes, but you're going to get it. Okay, so it's important to understand if you use a regular postal service, some things just absolutely suck. It's terrible. Customer service in Costa Rica has always been terrible, okay, on the most part. But hey, it's just part of being in Costa Rica. It's a different culture, and it's okay, okay?
It works and it's good. It's all in your perspective and what you're comparing it to.
Yeah.
Coming from the U.S. where mail, I mean, nowadays you can't say how reliable the USPS is, but let's say a few years ago it was way more reliable and you could get something delivered right to your mailbox, right to your doorstep. But so if you're coming from that system to here where nobody has mailboxes and you can get something delivered to the post office, but they do have services like you were saying.
Yeah. Now,
Aeropost.
John asked, well, does it rain more often where you're at? And where we're at is typically 6 and 6. A lot of places in the mountains will rain more often. Like when we were living around Charapo Mountain, or we were living in Chimaro, just above the Rivas area, it rained there about 9 months out of the year where we was living at instead of the 6 and 6. So some areas in the mountains do rain more often. Where we're at right here, even though it's about 4,500 feet in altitude, it still rains about 6 and 6 here. It's pretty typical that it's going to stop raining at the end of October, middle of November, start raining again, in May?
May.
And so it's typically 6 and 6 here. And Rhonda says, hey, I'm stalking your channel. Where are you guys at? And so we're way, way in the mountains above Buenos Aires. We don't state exactly where we're at simply for privacy reasons and simply because, hey, we do have haters that will send us emails and cuss me out left and right.
And wish that we would get COVID.
Yeah. So, it's okay. We know that we have genuine stalkers that don't like us. So, and I don't know why you wouldn't like someone as nice as Rebecca. I can see why you might not like me. So anyway.
Well, it's not, I mean, I have opinions as well. So.
Yeah. So anyway, being up here in this area, it's nice to be self-sufficient. You're not having to go buy as much. We're so far away. You know, I mean, it takes us 2 hours to get down the mountain. We're 10 kilometers away from the closest electrical pole. So when you live as far away as we do, we're really just enjoying nature's. I've been talking with the monkeys to see if I can get them to go to town and pick up stuff for me, but it just ain't working. So, you know, we're just enjoying life where we're at.
Yeah. And we just make a day, sometimes a 2-day trip out of it when we have to go to town. And, you know, I don't know what we're going to do now if we're not allowed to stay at a Airbnb. We'll have to just sleep in the car.
Yeah, just sleep in the car. So, no, we're nowhere near Monteverde. Monteverde is a very, very popular area. But we are in the Perez Celedon area. We are very, very, well,
it's still San Jose, Providence.
Is it? I don't think it's the San Jose Providence, is it? Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we're in,
they have the
where
Central Valley, and it runs all the way down. Punta Arenas is below
us. Okay.
Yeah, Punta Arenas is the beach. I mean, you can look at it. We're in
Yeah.
the middle of the country.
But yeah, we're in the middle of middle part of the country.
Yeah.
So if you look at Buenos Aires, it's a tiny, small area full of pineapples. Del Monte is king around here. Tons of pineapple farms, you know, plantations all over, sugarcane. And so we're above Buenos Aires, way, 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 way up in the mountains of Buenos Aires.
Way above the plantations.
Yeah. You know, Carl says he's over in Playa Flamingo. Yeah, that's way up north.
Is that on the Guanacaste?
Yeah, I think
section?
Playa Flamingo's on Guanacaste, isn't it, Carl? So, yeah. So, yeah, that's fantastic.
We've lived there. We lived on the Nicoya Peninsula for.
Yeah, we lived in the Nicoya Peninsula several times, you know. So,
we visited all those wonderful little beach towns all along the coast there.
Yeah. But hey, we are now at 2 hours here.
And it's getting dark.
And it's starting to get dark. And I didn't even have my lights on. So you guys, I bet you guys can't even hardly see us right now. A couple of shadows. So anyway, unless you have any pressing last-minute questions, we're going to go ahead and end this. So if you have any last-minute questions, please put those in the chat box now. Hey, by the way, we do want to say thank you very much for all those that donate, that want to support us. If you want to support us, now is a great time to hit that $, because today's video is sponsored by you and all our awesome, wonderful subscribers. We greatly appreciate you. You motivate us, excite us, and your likes, your subscribes, your donations, we greatly, greatly appreciate you, okay? So, hey, folks, thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you, David, there. David just gave us some apple juice fund.
Right.
Now we just need someone to give some tea fund.
Oh.
No, hey, we're having it. Thank you so much, folks. Y'all have a great, great day. Until next time, make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter so that I can update you as soon as we find out something.
Yeah.
Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you next time.